Hello, hello, hello. I am back. I'm alone again. I'm not going to sing that song, but I am alone again. James is in sunny California, and you will see the most incredible tan when he comes back. So I don't know how much work he's actually doing. But anyway, I'm not entirely alone. I have a very special guest, and I'm going to try and do justice to this introduction. So bear with me because I'm going to read it so I don't make any mistakes. Okay. So my guest is a globally recognized cybersecurity expert, influencer, and keynote speaker with over 20 years of experience, including 13 years serving as US Department of Defense. As a former Deputy Division Chief and Senior Intelligence Officer for the US Defense Intelligence Agency, she helped the White House and DoD thwart many threats to US cybersecurity. Now, that sentence in itself gave me a lot of trouble with my teeth. I had to put them back in. So, as a keynote speaker, national security expert, and overall cyber authority, she is relied on to provide unique insight into cyber threats, cyber warfare, mitigating cyber risk, national security, and ensuring industries have the tools and knowledge they need to defend themselves in the digital world. She is co-founder of Dark Cryptonite. What a cool name. We're going to find out all about that. A unique cybersecurity special communications solution, and hosts My Connected Life, Digital Health Disrupted on the Voice America Business channel. She's recognized by Engati as a 2022 top 50 global cybersecurity influencer. Oh my goodness, I am so thrilled to welcome our guest, Tyler Cohen Wood. Tyler, please join me. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for getting up early for us, because I know you're over there in the US, so it's morning for
It's a
you,
little early,
but you're
but
still
that's
looking
okay.
absolutely glamorous all the same. You made it. So, I mean, we've heard the most amazing introduction about what you've achieved and what you've done. I really would love to know, because it's not something that my career advisor advised me about when I was a student. How on earth did you get into intelligence and cyber?
You know, I mean, I graduated in 1999, so we didn't have cybersecurity careers like we have them now. I'll admit I started off my career as a blue-haired DJ in New Orleans, and I started getting interested in computers, and I started sort of learning to take them apart. And so in 1999, like toward that end of the year, I moved to San Francisco, which at the time was the only place that would just let you learn and teach you everything about the industry that you needed to know, because they just wanted people with a brain. So I moved there, and slowly found myself really, really more and more interested in the law enforcement and the intelligence part of cybersecurity. So I eventually moved to the DC area, and that's really when my career started, I think, in terms of cybersecurity and digital forensics, and then later special comms at DIA. So it's a
That's it.
weird jump, but
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing where we end up, isn't it? And then how did you go then from, Defense Intelligence Agency to being a keynote speaker?
well, that's kind of that was a weird shift because the two do not go hand in hand at all. Um, so I'm kind of more of an inventor type, and when I was at DIA, what I did was I led this. I was the deputy chief for the Special Communications Enterprise Office. So what I would do is I would conceptualize and invent capabilities to ensure that special forces on high risk missions, that their comms were hidden in the noise. So it's a very out of the box kind of way of thinking, and I loved it. But then in 2014, I wrote Catching the Catfishers, and I wrote this book to teach parents and kids how to vet if who they were talking to online is actually who they say they were. And like with very easy checklists, because, I really, when I was doing forensics, a lot of the forensic investigations I did were intrusion cases, but also major crimes cases, which almost inevitably always involved exploitation of children. So, writing that book really changed things for me because I started getting requests to do public speaking. And, I do things above board and I always stay within the lines. And, it got to be really difficult because I started doing a lot of media interviews and television and speaking. And at the level that I was at DA, you can't do it. So I made the choice to leave the intelligence community and move into speaking and, really other areas full time. So I've had different jumps within my cybersecurity career.
So it's interesting. So for you, it was that book that really launched everything. And gosh, and
Mhm.
how needed was that book, that topic? So needed and still so
It
relevant.
was. It was. Well, and the weird thing about that book is I'm a futurist. It's just part of how my mind works. I'm a little, it's part of the inventor thing. I don't know, call it left-handed, call it Aquarius, I don't know, but I just see things in different ways. And I tend to be a little bit ahead of my time. And if you were to read Catching the Catfishers today, which came out in 14, it was weirdly prophetic about what was going to come and what started to happen in 2019, especially with Cambridge Analytica.
Wow. Wow. And actually, it's important if you're saying you're a futurist that you should be ahead, right? That is really important that you should be.
Yeah, but
So it's a good thing.
sometimes I'm a little too far ahead.
Yeah. So we need to catch up sometimes.
So
Okay.
timing is everything.
Okay. So there were people who will be wanting to know. So obviously you got a lot of inquiries as a result of your book. But where else have your speaker bookings come from, your keynote engagements?
So once I started really doing this in 2014, speakers bureaus, sometimes you'll get the odd request from LinkedIn, or a friend of a friend will recommend you for an engagement. And it just kind of becomes organic in that way. And, once you really build up a reputation for being a good speaker, being very kind and working well with the clients, and really going that extra mile, you just start getting more and more bookings. And
Fantastic. So yeah,
I love
sorry,
it.
Karen.
I absolutely love it. There is no better feeling to me than being able to help people, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's, talking about patient experience, whatever that topic is. It's a connection with the audience, and being able to provide that help to them is so incredibly important to me. And I just love it.
Fantastic. And actually, we were talking before we came on. We had a bit of a catch up, which was great. And you were telling me you have done your first in-person event with real live people you could touch.
Yes. Yes. I
And you
did.
loved it. You loved it,
Not that
didn't
I went
you?
around touching people, but
No, good. I'm glad to hear it.
my favorite part of that presentation was in the beginning. It was Secure 360 in Minneapolis, and it like you said, it was the first live in-person presentation that I'd done since February 11th, 2020, and it was incredible. I loved it. I loved having the audience there, the sponsors and the conference. They were giving scholarships to kids in cybersecurity, and I got to hand out the awards to these kids. It was just, and the presentation itself, it was fun. It was great, and I really have missed live presentations. I hadn't realized how much I missed them until that presentation.
Fantastic, wonderful. So tell me, you touched upon, you said, you need to be a good speaker, and you touched upon some of the things you need to be a good speaker. What would you say currently, in the US market where you are, which is very competitive, what does it take really to get booked? And what does a good speaker look like?
Well, a good speaker and to get booked, especially in the US, like you said, cybersecurity is booming. I mean, there are so many cybersecurity speakers. And, it's really finding your voice and what makes you unique, and what those topics are, and how you convey the message. And, I think that is really one of the ways that you can stand out, because, when I first started speaking, I didn't really know what I was doing. And, I also am afraid of public speaking, so that didn't help. But, I tried to be just like everyone else. I tried to speak on the same topics, and I tried to emulate some of my favorite speakers. And it took me a while to really realize that that wasn't doing me or the customer or the audience it was doing us all a disservice, because when you're your own unique self, that's when you shine through, and that's when you shine, and that's when people notice, and they listen, and that's where more bookings come from. And sometimes it's kind of scary, because you're standing up there as the expert, and you've sometimes you just have to fake confidence until you eventually have it, because it's a difficult thing for a lot of people to do. But I cannot stress, preparation is key. Make sure that you have backups of everything, that you make sure that if you're flying somewhere, you have a flight where there's other flights just in case you miss it. And one of the things that I think also really makes a good speaker is listening to the client and understanding that you're there for the client, and you're there for the audience, and you're there to help them learn something they didn't know before in a fun, entertaining way. And going that extra mile for that client. Like, I always offer to do social media amplification for clients for the event. Sometimes I'll even offer, would you like for me to write, piece of original content for it? I always am willing to do those extra things. And, clients also, I'll always tell them, if it's in person, I'm more than willing to stay, as long as you need me to make sure that all questions get answered, because I'm there for them. I'm not there for me. And I think that makes a good speaker.
Fantastic. I'm interested in this social media amplification because I think this has become a bigger request and more often requested these days. So how many of your clients would you say are asking for this? And when you talk about social media amplification, what exactly does that mean in terms of what you have to do?
Well, it can be resharing tweets, it can be coming, or LinkedIn posts, it can be coming up with original content. Really putting the conference, the event on your channels, and then amplifying it through your network. And um, clients really appreciate that. In the cybersecurity world, it's really Twitter and LinkedIn that most social media influencers will use. It's not typically the Instagrams or the TikToks, but those are really where I think the speakers and cybersecurity sort of lives. Now, that may change, tomorrow, but as for now, that's really where it is. So, and you also want to make sure that you have a good follower number to be able to offer that. And if you don't, there's other things that you can do, like saying, I will help, promote the conference by creating original content that you can put on your site, like writing, a quick blog for them on whatever topic, they want, or a topic that's, of interest to you that helps promote the event. But going that extra mile, I think, is extremely important.
I think it's changed a lot. I think the days where a keynote speaker could swan in 15 minutes before they speak, get on stage, go straight away, have literally the car take to the airport, the engine running outside as they run off the stage while the applause is still ringing in their ears. And it has happened. And I remember the days, many speakers who have done that. I don't think that can happen
I
anymore.
have never done that, and I never would.
No, I know you wouldn't, but it's I'm sure that if there are speaker bureaus listening in and event organizers listening in, they will recognize, and we can probably name who those people were, but there were people who did work in that way. So tell me then, what does your speaking business consist of? Is it all keynotes? Do you have other services you offer? Do you consult? Do you advise? What do you do?
Well, so I yes, keynotes. I also do social media influencer work for various campaigns and brands. And I also, as part of that, I also do written content. I do video content. I do webinars to go along with the event. So it's kind of, I don't know, a gig economy, but you can really meld all those things into one, because if you're offering the client a reach of, say, 30,000 followers will see the message, that's something that most clients want, unless it's an internal event. And if it's an internal event, you have to respect that and not promote it. But that's the extra thing that you can do to really help. And the other thing too is just be kind. Just be kind. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 client meetings for the client, to really understand what they want the presentation to be, and that's fine. Be willing to do that.
Okay, brilliant. And I'm imagining that your business also consists of both in person and
Oh yeah.
virtual. Yes.
Oh yeah.
And what's the balance like at the moment for you? And I think I know what you're going to say to the next bit. Which one do you prefer? I think I know what you're going to say there.
Well, if you would have asked me a month ago, I would have said a different answer. Right now, I'm starting to get more at live presentations. Finally, COVID really put the kibosh on that. But virtual. I do a lot of virtual presentations too, and I love those too. They're just as much fun. You can wear sweatpants and no one knows.
Are you wearing sweatpants?
Actually, I am. Yes, under.
And nobody knows.
Well, they do now.
They do now. Sorry, I've destroyed the illusion.
Yes. So it's, and if you're going to be doing webinars, that's another thing too. You want to be thinking about what you're providing the client. You want to go the extra mile and have either a nice background that's kind of fun and unique, or you want to get a green screen and a background approved, by the client. And you want to make sure that you have all the right tools too. Like I have, I actually have a hardwire cable that I use when I'm doing webinars or presentations, just in case, there's any network issues. It just makes things faster. I always have multiple backups. I'm a little paranoid, but I guess all cybersecurity people really are, aren't we?
It's part of your DNA, actually. I think we want
Yeah.
cybersecurity people to be paranoid. Someone's got to be paranoid for us, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
things have shifted in cybersecurity, and it's no longer enough. I think a lot of times there's a disconnect between cybersecurity people and everybody else, because it's almost as if there's a guilt associated with making a mistake and clicking a link. And if this was 2012 up to 2016, I would have said, okay, there's something to that. But do you know how many phishing attempts we have thrown at us every day? So
Scared to
the
hear this
key,
answer.
well, it's enormous, and they have just escalated and escalated and escalated. And the thing that cybersecurity people have to realize is, and many of us do, that people are not always at their best. And I myself almost fell for a phishing scam, and the reason was I wasn't really thinking. My dog had just passed away, I was sick, and it was not a good day. And this was an easy scam too. This was not like complex or but I caught it before it went too far, because I took a step and walked away. But really conveying the message so that you're helping, not accusing. And that's really important, because there's a big difference.
Yeah, I like that. And you do have a number of how many phishing attempts we experience? Or is that a difficult one to quantify?
Well, I know I personally, I personally have about 3 or 4 at least a day.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And not only do you have that sort of on your emails, you have it on your text messaging, you have it on your phone. It
Oh,
seems like they're everywhere. And even on the doorstep, knocking on your door sometimes,
yeah, oh,
it's like crazy.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the voice scams they've really gotten kind of out of control. In fact,
Yeah.
on my way to the presentation in Minneapolis, one of my good friends called me, and she's freaking out. And she said that the FBI had called her and the CIA, and that she was involved in some, they thought she was involved in some Amazon laundering money scam, and she had to buy a bunch of Amazon gift cards. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, Jess, stop. This is a scam. This is not real. The FBI, they will never call you. Hackers use fear, urgency, and your good trust. And I told her, call the police and do not talk to them again. Block the numbers. Just no.
I know we're going slightly off piste here. We're going into your expertise, but I'm curious. I'm going to have to ask you a question here. So you say call the police. Do the police do anything? I don't know if they do, really. I'm not convinced.
Well, I'm not entirely convinced either, but at least you have a police report if you need to use that later. And I told her also, this is one thing that I recommend to everybody. Don't only lock your credit, freeze your credit file. It's kind of a pain if you have to unfreeze it, but it's not really that difficult. It takes, about 10 minutes. You just have to type in your codes. But I go so far as to recommend completely freezing your credit report. Because
so that way it doesn't get damaged.
Well, yeah, because no one can, if you've got a freeze on your credit report, it's inconvenient for you too. Like if you're buying a car or a house, you have to lift the freeze yourself. But okay. I highly recommend it because it's just another added layer of protection.
Okay, that's really good. Thank you so much. Really good advice. So for you personally, because I'm sure people will relate as well, what have been the biggest challenges, being a speaker, and how have you overcome them?
Well, when I first started, like I said, I didn't entirely know what I was supposed to do. So, and I really wanted to be like everybody else. And it took me not really long, but it took me a while, and it took me overcoming some personal challenges to realize that, what I have to offer is unique, and I'm unique. I'm a little weird, but I'm unique. And that's the perspective. And that's what makes my presentations more interesting than what they were before. When you're just trying to sound like everybody else, it's not going to be authentic. And you're not really doing anyone a service that way. So, really learning to be myself and put myself into the presentations, because I mean, let's be honest, keynotes are part information, part entertainment. And I would say the other challenge that I'm still overcoming, but I think I've gotten much better at it, and that's I have an autoimmune disease, and sometimes I have a lot of physical challenges that make things a little bit difficult. But I find ways to make it work. And I've gotten to the point where, so if my neck turns red, or I get a patch of red or something like that, or it's okay, because I'm not trying to be, this perfect, healthy person, because I'm not. So it doesn't faze me anymore like it used to. I just have to do extra things. Like I have to, make sure I bring my special drinks with me, my shakes. I have to make sure that I have, different size clothing in case I'm swollen. So you just prepare the extra mile. And I mean, I guess eventually I just kind of got over it and just started doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're so passionate about what you do that you think, well, I'm going to do it and just overcome. So that's wonderful. That's really inspiring. There will be speakers listening in who are listening to this and they want to get into the US market. They really do. Everybody aspires to speak in the US. How hard is it for somebody outside of the US, would you say? And what do they need to do? What's important for US bookers?
I think what is important for US bookers is really original content. They'll want to see video. They'll want to see photos, recommendations, even going so far as to do clips and post it on social media of, you doing partial presentation. Anything that you can do to make yourself stand out and get the booker's attention is going to help you. And really going that extra mile. And I'm one of those people that if I want to talk to a booker, if I want to, be in that bureau, I'll just call them until I
Fantastic,
get
fantastic.
someone on the phone.
Fantastic. And you tend to do things directly through bureaus as opposed to going to clients or to event organizers, meeting planners. You prefer to work via bureaus.
I prefer to work through bureaus. Yes, I mean do have some people who just reach out on LinkedIn and that kind of stuff, and that's fine too. But I like the bureau relationship because they take care of the negotiating, they take care of the logistics, and I like having that. So, I mean, it may not be for every speaker, but for me, it just kind of works.
Yeah, I think it works very well in the US. The US market does
Mhm.
like to book via bureaus, probably more so than over this side of the pond. It's quite interesting. Okay, so listen, we've got a bit of time left, so I'd love to hear more about your new show, My Connected Life, which is going to, and in fact, if people use this website address, they'll be able to find it. Tell me about that. It's My Connected Life, Digital Health Disrupted, Dark Cryptonite. What is that about, and who is that aimed at?
Well, Dark Cryptonite is a product. It's a cybersecurity suite of products, um, and the show is geared toward. And I do have a co-host, the show is geared toward digital health and really, my patient experience. My story is very interesting. I got very sick and I ended up using my cybersecurity background to help diagnose myself and with a rare autoimmune disease. So it's that show is geared toward talking about not only the cybersecurity of digital health, like, making sure that you're not going to get ransomware, or you know what to do in case a hospital gets ransomware, the cybersecurity aspects of the whole healthcare ecosystem, but also the patient experience and how we can make things better in the healthcare industry and in the digital health industry as well. And Dark
No, yeah, I was going
Kryptonite.
to say, sorry, I was going to say that is so needed at the moment, especially, all of our medical facilities have been so stretched. So that actually is vital. Sorry, to carry on, Dark Kryptonite, tell us a bit more.
So I've been in this industry for a very long time. I'm old. But I have watched and watched and watched, and I believe that we have gotten to a point where a lot of the solutions we're just trying to put bandages on an internet that was never designed for security. And we had the threat landscape is just grown exponentially, and I believe the only way to be able to really have a secure environment is utilizing a different internet structure, and that is what Dark Kryptonite is. It's
Wow.
and to really understand it, so special comms is different from secure comms. Secure comms is communication, but you can see encrypted traffic. Special comms, the comms have to be essentially hidden in the noise so that it can't be found.
That is
So
absolutely fascinating. I'm sure that there'll be people out there who understand a lot more than I do, but to me it sounds fascinating. And putting a band-aid on the internet, I completely get what you're saying. It was never designed to be as ubiquitous and big and certainly completely crazy. It's just evolved, hasn't it? Thank you so much, Tyler. You have given us so much value, and we're going to share your LinkedIn if anybody would like to connect with you, follow you,
sure.
maybe they have some questions or may like to bring you over to one of their countries or one of their events to speak. Thank
Fantastic.
you. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed yourself and it wasn't too painful.
Oh my gosh, I always have fun with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so kind. You're so kind. We're going to now wave people off. I'm going to play some music. We can have a little bop. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.